All right, let's go to performance tips. And oh yeah, let me share screen. Sorry. So I want you to be thinking that way. And if you feel bold and brave enough, then I encourage you, let me just pull up my thing again. If you feel bold and brave enough, start thinking about what sounds like a good title, okay? So you can start thinking, it doesn't have to be like a Shazam title right yet, but just a title for your thing. And it should be something that people can understand what they're going to learn. It should have some kind of outcome in there. Don't try to make it all cutesy or whatever in the sense that you can't tell what it is. That doesn't help. So make it so that in the title, it has the outcomes, right? So 3 steps to, you can have a cute intro, but like 3 steps to positive, productive conversations. Like tired of yelling, question mark, tired of yelling at your kids, question mark. 3 simple steps to productive conversations. Do you see what I'm saying?
So this is the title for our keynote, like speaking.
Yep, for speaking, actual speaking. So we're going to kind of pretend we're doing like a soft kind of keynote today. I don't want you wigged out. I don't want you thinking, oh, I'm doing a keynote. I want you to make it and keep it conversational. But I want you to also practice that feel of, I am sharing my message officially. Like I am sharing it because I want to teach you something and I need to command a presence while I'm teaching this to you. So if you think of a title for your keynote, that's great. If not, that's something you can do later. What's most important is that you identify the pain point, the ideal life, and then the how-tos with the stories or the stats. That's really your message. So whether you're on a podcast or whether you're on a stage or whatever, that you can speak about what your message is and the pain point, ideal life, how you're going to help them with the struggle, fill the need so it's an ideal life, and then the way you're going to connect through those stories and stats to make it credible and connect, if that makes sense. So on this is on page 18. There's presence is 5 P's, performance is 3 C's, and payoff is 3 R's. You don't need to memorize that. On presence, command and captivate with 5 P's. Okay, first thing, I'm just going to go through this quickly because you can read it, but I want to just share this to make sure you understand what I'm talking about. Pace, keep it interesting. Highs and lows, emphasis. Dan Clark says, in a successful keynote, you need to make them laugh, cry, and think. And it's true. Now, Dan, I love Dan. He's actually a friend. I'm not name dropping. I'm just saying, I know there's the old school of speaking as well, where they kind of were like, hey, I can make my audience do whatever I want. And I'm not suggesting that he still does this. I'm just saying that was kind of a thought process. And I'm so grateful that keynote and speaking has shifted. And now it's how do I connect and resonate with my audience? So I don't ever go into an audience and think, oh, I want to make them cry, or I'm going to make them laugh in this moment. But I do put in my keynote experiences that are varied. So a funny experience and maybe a poignant experience and something else, but I'm not trying to make my audience do anything. I think that's manipulative. I just share what's in my heart and make sure it's varied. Does that make sense? So you want to keep the emotional and the energy of your keynote like this. So like even today, we've had highs and lows, we've had spiritual, we've had laughter, I've shared funny experiences, I've shared hard experiences. I mean, I've shared a variety of things. We've done breakout coaching, we've done everybody coaching, I've done some hot seat coaching. We've kept it varied so it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I've been in front of a Zoom camera for like 6 hours, right? So in your keynote, the pacing, when I'm speaking, I speak fast, and people used to tell me to not speak fast. But guess what? All my evaluations coming back from conferences, especially Education Week, they were like, she speaks fast, but I love it. I don't go to sleep in her class, okay? But what I learned is that there is a threshold that when I got nervous, I would speak even faster, and I have to be careful and pull it back, because I can speak fast like this, but you'll notice that I'll stop and then I'll emphasize some words, and then I'll go and keep talking so that it gives people a mental break from my fast speaking. Okay, so look at the pace, the way you pace, watch for the monotone. What I see mostly happening with people when they share a message. So my message is that I am sharing about how to do blah, 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 blah. And then what I do is I blah, 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 and you're staying right about in here. And that's going to be a meditative state. You don't want to do that. So pacing. Pause after a question, after a point is made, after a lingering line. That's what she was talking about, Brooke, the other day on Studio 5. When she popped right on, I didn't know she was going to ask that first question. And I said, energy is everything. Pause for even half a second. And then I moved on. That helps people to be able to internalize. That was a PowerPoint. That was a pivotal moment. That was a Wonder Woman stance statement. So make sure you pick out in your message, where are those things? Just like she said, conflict is not contention. Pause. That's a good pause statement. So whatever it is, when you said respond, not react, pause. Let people assimilate the power of what you just said, because that's huge. Really good. Pitch, just like I said, tone and volume to tell the story. And you'll notice when people tell, I didn't realize, and take it with a grain of salt, but I didn't realize that I naturally did things that people told me later, this is what you're supposed to do as a speaker, because this is just how we talk in Scotland. This is how we tell stories, because we know no one's going to listen to us unless we're actually telling it in an engaging way. And I learned how to tell stories, not that I'm not great, but I'm just saying I learned how to tell stories from my mom and my sister, because my one sister would tell them so good, we'd be on the edge of our seat. I wish I could do it like her, and it was really natural. She wasn't trying to be eliciting anything. She was just her. So when you're telling a story, you'll notice a lot of times that people ascend in their volume. So I went here, and then I saw this, and I said, what the heck? And then he turned around and said, and then wouldn't you know, he did this. And then I realized it was the wrong card. Do you see what I'm saying? You ascend, 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 mic drop. So that's another good way to tell a story. Do not tell a story. Yeah, and we were fighting over the car door, and I was like, why are you getting in my car? And then he looked at me, and then I realized it was the wrong car. Does not have the same punch. Okay. Posture, move with confidence and ease. No apologies, and use the space intentionally. Use your hands, your arms. When you walk out into a space, do not hunch your shoulders. Make sure that even when you're doing it in the breakout rooms, you sit with your shoulders back. This is why I'm wearing a nice dress today. You embody your message. You are authentic. You look like you. You know, Gabrielle Bernstein, you can always tell what she's wearing. She's always wearing white pants. She has this sort of a look. It's kind of like one of those, I don't want to say 60s look or that holistic look, but she's got that kind of look. She always has something going on in metal and jewelry. Marie Forleo, totally recognize her. Perky. She's always got the hair or the flowing, and she looks like she's in her 20s. She's got this bubbling energy. So she looks like her. So, but a step above your audience. You always want to dress a step above your audience. So even when you're directing them, it's not condescending. It's you're coming off as an expert. So you want to be a step above so that they have something to reach for. And that comes in your posture and your credibility, the way you use your space. And then polish, like I just said, a step above, closed toe shoes, longer skirts or pants for high stage, and no big hair. There used to be the big thing that the bigger the stage, the bigger the hair. No. So again, be you, but be an elevated you. And people will say, oh, I need to listen because she looks good. When I would go to Storymakers Conference, I think it was the second year, I kept having people stop me and saying, oh, are you a presenter? Or, oh, do you work with the committee? And I'm like, no, it's just because I dressed a little bit nicer. Not even that fancy, just a little bit nicer. I just wasn't in jeans. I was usually in like a long kind of sundress thing or something like that, just comfortable for me. Well, yeah, within a year or two, I was speaking at Storymakers because people saw me as that kind of a person because I was in that elevated state. So something to consider. Any questions on that? You guys are going to boss that. I know that. I know you probably already know all those things, but just a great reminder. Then the performance 3 C's: convey, create, and connect. Did you convey your purpose or platform? Every point leads your point forward, your platform forward. It's okay if you have a great story about something, but unless you connect it, it's just flop. So make sure that everything is meaty and leads to the next, to the next, to the next. I'll tell you, a good speech, a good presentation is satisfying. People feel like, just like in a good meal, when you hit all 6 tastes on your taste buds, it's so satisfying. You just walk away going, that was awesome. That's what you want them to feel. It should convey your purpose and your platform, and it should do it in a way that makes it satisfying. Everything leads back to your message. And a great way to do that is to repeat your key sentence, your purpose statement, like 3, 4, 5 times in your speech. Every time I get done, like I just spoke at Lisa's event, and I said the very first thing was, and there's another thing called bookends. You want to start with something and end with something, and it ties it together. So the very beginning, I said, I've got 3 words that are going to change your life, okay, that are life-changing. And it's all how I've been able to do what I do as a wife and a TV person, blah, 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 blah. And then I put the slide up. Purpose changes everything. Then I go on to show how that is true. And then after every point, I make the point, I say the story, and then I go, purpose changes everything. And sometimes I put emphasis on purpose. sometimes on the change, and sometimes on the everything. But I'm saying it after each point so that when they get done, what do they remember? Purpose changes everything, right? What does she talk about? Purpose changes everything. So make sure you have that power phrase that you know that you're going to keep saying throughout, and that's huge. And then second, did you create an experience? So when you're sharing your message, I don't care if it's 1 minute or if it's 45, you want to try to create an experience. That's what people want. They don't want to hear thoughts and words and just talking at them. They want you to be with them. They want to experience what you're trying to share with them. So try to create an experience, something that shifts their way of seeing and feeling. Just like when Judy was talking about conflict is not contention, and then sharing the story about that woman who thought in her marriage that's what it was like. That shifts. That makes you go, what? Am I doing that? Is that in our? It's great. And then lastly, did you connect authentically? So making sure you share those real experiences and you connect with them and ask before you share a story, how does this benefit them? How is this going to help them or resonate with them? All right. And then the last two things, where do you lead them? Blog post, opt-in. They should want more. Right now, you're going to want to lead them to your Facebook group or Instagram, whatever your social media is, definitely lead them to that. Until you have anything like an opt-in, a newsletter, a course, whatever, lead them to join your community so they can connect with you for more. And then what did they remember? I love giving surveys after speaking. If you notice, even on here, I'll say with you, how did that go? What was your takeaway? How did that feel for you this morning? What did you learn from your breakouts? Anybody have any aha moments? You're constantly assessing how did that go so you can make course corrections if you need to add or take away or have somebody share or whatever. So you can adjust to the energy and the feel and the need. Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Okay, and then last, the payoff. Did the message resonate with them? Did it inspire or motivate or enlighten them? Did it resonate? Did it resolve? Did you actually resolve a concern, fill a need, or hit a necessary beat? Did you do something for them? Did they get a takeaway? And then lastly, did they recommend, refer, or give you a testimonial? So that was sweet. Wendy Jones, after I did the retreat, she was like, oh, I totally would give you a testimonial on that. That was so amazing, right? The women were so sweet about it. They were like, I totally do that. I love this. So that's a good thing. If they're willing to refer, recommend, or give a testimony, then you know something good has happened. Okay. All right, so performance, the 5 Ps. Remember, you want to have presence, command the presence. So even though you're going to be sitting and talking, you could even stand. My table, my desk actually lifts up so that I could stand if I wanted to. But if you want to stand and lift your laptop, or if you just want to sit forward in your chair, command your space, your presence, and then share. Start with that. The hook that I have on there is that very thing of you start with a question or a story or something that gets their attention. And that can be the pain point. Have you ever walked into a room, maybe your kitchen or your bathroom or your bedroom, and you have just felt weighted? It's cluttered, it's dark, it's messy, it just feels blah. That's a hook. You're asking a thought-provoking question. You're sharing an interesting story. You walk onto the stage, you say, 2 weeks ago, I was trying to get into my car, and a man comes up and starts trying to get into my car too. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's your hook. It's your pain point, but it's still your hook. You could also have an ideal life. Sitting on the beach 2 weeks ago, air wafting, all of a sudden, toes in the sand, and I thought to myself, how did I get here? I came from, and then 5 years before, this is where I was. Does that make sense? Still your hook. So a hook can be a stat, a story, or whatever, or it can be one of those pain points, ideal life, and you just use it as a hook.